Hey everyone, it's Brandy from Brandy Burrow Astrology, back with Ellie Adams from Saturn Season Astrology and YouTube channel Let's F with Astrology. Ellie, thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me back, for wanting me to come back and talk.
I love it. I love it. So today we're talking about RFK, Bobby Kennedy, and his death. Part one of this will be on your channel where we talk about JFK's death. And this is our Dominoes of Bullshit series.
Yeah, because really, there are what feels like dominoes of bullshit here.
Easy. This started a couple weeks ago. We were doing the Marilyn Monroe death, and we were looking at her last seen chart, which is an Aquarius rising chart. And she was tied to the Kennedy brothers. Like on the last day, she was in communication with Bobby Kennedy. And so we kind of went into all that. But when we were talking about that, we decided to pull the charts for JFK and RFK and their deaths afterwards. And actually, Ellie did this, stumbled upon how they were all Aquarius rising charts with their last seen.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I'm like, now that's interesting. And I can't certainly RFK and JFK's deaths are tied. I think everybody kind of knows that. I do think though Marilyn Monroe's is too. I'm just not totally sure exactly how. Not exactly. Like I almost feel like in her case, it's like maybe they were afraid she knew something that maybe she wasn't supposed to know, and she may or may not have. But it's like I don't know. That's a whole other tangent though.
That's a whole other. I also wonder if she just was kind of attached to them and they couldn't get rid of her, maybe. But that's find that episode on both our channels about Marilyn Monroe. So Robert Kennedy, little backstory, the day he is shot, June 5th, 1968, he was running for the Democratic ticket of the election that year. And he had just won the California primary and the South Dakota primary. He was in second place with a number of delegates. He was expected to climb ahead, though. He was gaining popularity, and I think everybody thought he was going to win the presidency. So really important candidate and very well liked. So let's start by looking at the chart when he got shot.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see if I can do that this time. All right, did we see the RFK shot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Aquarius rising.
Yes. And it's just a degree off from his brothers. His brothers, what the JFK's was at 19 something. This is at 20, 25. So yeah.
Similar lineups going on with this. And this what he had just given a speech about winning, and he was at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles and was exiting kind of a different route than he was
through the kitchen.
Through the kitchen. I believe if I understood correctly, there was actually supposed to be a different route to go. He was trying to go to do another press conference or speak to the press, but the crowd was blocking him. And so they went through the kitchen, and Saran was there, supposedly the shooter, the guy convicted of shooting him. All sorts of theories of whether Saran did do the shooting. I think a lot believe he did, but there's some other theories that maybe there was a gunman, that he couldn't have shot the fatal shot.
There are also theories about Sirhan being under mind control.
Yes.
That goes on a whole other, but yeah. Because he claims he doesn't. And I mean, this could just be a criminal who did something terrible, claiming that they don't remember what they did, but he's kind of, it seems like, held fast to that. I don't know. It is interesting nonetheless.
Yes. And there was, he really was trying to confess to the crime. There was diaries where he said he wanted him dead. He was a Palestinian, from Jerusalem, but a Christian Palestinian, I believe. So there were some, views that he disagreed with Bobby Kennedy. It kind of goes into this big long story, but this is a chart when he shot. So let's kind of try to see what's going on here. Bobby Kennedy represented by Saturn.
Uh-huh.
in Aries in the second house here, and the moon in Virgo right there trying to enter the eighth house.
Uh-huh.
What
Yeah, it's
stood out to you here, Ellie?
okay. Well, it's it's actually not so much that stands out. It's more it's that seventh house. Okay, so we have the same interception that we have in JFK's, right? We've got the Virgo intercepted, right?
Another interesting, I don't want to say coincidence, but because there's something tied here.
Yes.
But yes, yeah.
So we've got that, but this time in this chart, so and we still have Pluto and Uranus conjunct one another in Virgo, right? I think they were also within 5 degrees, or 5 degrees here. They were within 5 degrees, I think, in JFK's too, right? So that stands out, that interception.
Yeah. This was about 4.5 years apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now what's interesting about this, okay, and the moon is co-ruler of the chart, which is also representative of RFK. But that Jupiter is in the seventh house, right? But it's in Leo. So it's not intercepted. Now I'm just going to throw this out there. Okay. In JFK's chart, you've got Pluto and Uranus in the JFK chart. Pluto and Uranus are intercepted, but in that chart, I don't see Oswald. I actually see Sirhan in this chart.
Me too.
With that Jupiter, right? He's actually there. He's visible. Now, I will say this. I still think there are other things in the background that are hidden in some capacity, but you see him for sure. Like, which when I see that, it's like very literal to me. I'm like, now that's really interesting.
Great point. Cause I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, we got these two deaths that in some way feels tied because we got some similarities with some charts going on. We barely even talked about Lee Harvey Oswald in the JFK video because it's just not popping out.
No, it's not. No, I'm not saying that he wasn't somehow involved in JFK's death, but if he was involved, I do not think he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He feels like a patsy, whereas in this case, in some capacity, Sirhan knew what he was. You know what I mean? Like
it was very intentional.
Yes.
That's me, what I'm getting here.
Yeah. And he's also he's the one that's not, all that other stuff is intercepted. He is not.
And that it's Jupiter. It's religious beliefs, it's philosophies, it's basically
foreigners, people from foreign lands, even.
That too. Yes. Yeah. Great point. Now we'd really look at the sun here for the perpetrator in Gemini in the fourth house of endings in a double-bodied sign.
Yes. And even motive. There is something like it does within the fourth house, it does feel like there is family, there is a familial tie here in some capacity. For sure. Yeah.
It does, I would say at the very least, the theory about two gunmen, just reading the story, I never really thought that was feasible. And I think a lot of people who studied and investigated the case didn't think so either. But there is that theory. And with the sun being a Gemini makes me think, hey, maybe possible. It's definitely possible.
It does seem possible. It does. At least something that maybe shouldn't be completely ruled out of the realm of possibility.
Right. And with that sun tucked in to that Venus Mars there, holding it together. I'm trying to think where I want to go with that, but it does feel like
other things being involved, perhaps.
Other things being involved, or doing it for someone, or even maybe if you want to go into the mind control, making them believe they did it or something. They're being held.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. that is it, whether or not it's the mind control thing or not, the other involvement of other, holding it. Yeah,
Could be brainwashing too, you know.
Could be.
I mean, anyone
Absolutely.
that's intense about their religion, there's usually something like that going on. You know, and one thing about Surin, sorry, I got to plug in my laptop before it. These days, guys, just bear with me. There we go. One thing about him is he was very adamant about how he did this crime. There were diaries where he had written 1,000 times in a diary that he wanted Bobby Kennedy dead, and really stuck to the story that he did it. And then here in the last, like, I want to say early 2000s or around 2012, all of a sudden his attorneys are saying, oh, he didn't do it. And he claims he wasn't the only one. He claims he wasn't the one who fatally shot him. He changes his story, which is very Gemini as well.
But it also makes me what it is. I mean, yes, yes, that could be very, very Gemini, but it also makes me wonder, did somebody die around that time that maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, now that they've passed on, he feels like he can, do you know what I'm trying to say?
There was around about 3 months prior, Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Oh no, I mean when Sirhan's attorney started saying that.
Gotcha. I don't know.
Because like maybe he felt like, if I'm just thinking, I didn't even think about this before, but maybe if somebody had passed, or he got wind that somebody had passed, if they were involved in this, it's like, okay, finally I can start, you know.
I see what you're saying. That would be something really interesting to look into.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, like something's like, maybe I can switch my story now. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a Gemini sun perpetrator. So that's just going to be a little all over the place. It's just, I'm a Gemini, I can say it, you know. It's just, yeah, that story's not going to be straight.
The story's not going to be straight.
It's not. You got Neptune towards the top of this chart. It is in the 9th house, another indication, and Scorpio, another indication of some very intense beliefs going on. 10 degrees from the midheaven, but you know that midheaven's ruled by that Jupiter.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So, you know, to me, no matter what the truth is, I think the story is always going to be Surin did it.
Yeah, and I mean, even just looking at this chart, if there are other people involved, other groups even involved in this, he's the only one in that 7th house that's not intercepted. He's the, you know, he's right there.
It's right there. Some literal things about this chart: the fact that he shot going through a kitchen and his ruler is in the 2nd house where you find food type things. That's pretty literal right there.
Yes, it is. It's very literal.
And he's in Saturn is in a fall. So
yes,
not well placed at all for Bobby.
No, it's not. It's not. Let me see. Is there anything else that I had in my notes? It also, I will say this, you know, with that moon in the 7th, I kind of get the feeling that maybe not so much that he knew what he very well could have had thoughts that he was going to be shot or assassinated as well. That I wouldn't be surprised, but I do get the feeling that he knew somebody involved. If there were more people than just, you know, Sirhan, he knew the group. He knew.
He's right there with the Pluto Uranus, and so he knows some groups that could be involved. He also knows the group that was somewhat involved with his brother, right?
Yes.
Because now his moon is right there with that conjunction.
Yes. Yeah, like it's not. Yeah,
Yeah. And going back to that moon in Gemini, you know, Gemini is the siblings as well.
Yeah.
This could
Yes.
be something saying, hey, these deaths are tied together, no matter who is the one responsible for discharging a weapon.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's weird.
Absolutely.
This
It
is
is
where
weird.
astrology like changes how I see things, because if I'm just reading this story, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about all the conspiracies. I think Sirhan was into his beliefs, but then when I see the astrology, I'm like, this does give some of these conspiracies some validation.
Well, it does. And I mean, really, like you were talking about brainwashing, really, it wouldn't even, I mean, if you really think about it, if you've got somebody that is so radical about their beliefs, such a believer in their beliefs, it wouldn't take much to tip the scales
Yeah.
to, you know what I mean? To perhaps, to perhaps get, and I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but I'm just thinking people like that do seem like they could in a lot of cases be more vulnerable to, and I'm not just talking about people that that believe in religion, but I'm talking about real like radicalization, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't be hard to tip the scales to get them to maybe do something like that.
Absolutely. And something I'm seeing in this chart, I don't know. I'd have to look at other crime charts that have this placement, but it's standing out to me in this chart with the South Node being in Libra, the sign of justice, but it's the South Node. The North Node being in Aries, right there with Saturn, the opposite sign. I don't think, and I mean, we're almost 55 years out here. We're not going to get the right justice here for this crime.
No, no, we're not. No, we're not.
No matter who the perpetrator is or who's responsible, we're not going to get the justice here. What's done is done, and that's where we're at with it. Do we want to look at his natal chart?
Sure.
Hey,
Absolutely.
we'll see if this one goes better. Okay, I do have it. I have it with the transits that day.
Do it. Pull it.
Oh, I have both actually. Let's look at the birth chart first. I was thinking I didn't have it. Let me know if you can see it.
I can see it.
Okay, cool. And it's whole sign. Okay, Hellenistic astrologer here. I love my whole sign chart. But yeah, Ellie, I want to hear your thoughts about this chart, because I love how you looked at this chart and you're like, this guy is a politician.
Yeah, this dude, this guy, this motherfucker, he was the politician. He was the politician. He was the politician. I mean, I look at all that shit in Capricorn. Like, look at all. You've got the South Node there. You've got the moon right up the South Node's ass. You've got Jupiter right there. The midheavens right there. This guy was the one who, like we were talking about the JFK one. This one was made for it. JFK, I don't know how the fuck he really wound up doing.
He just played one on TV.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, this one though was he was the and I'll be honest, there is something real sexy about this chart. He kind of looks like it would be a poor life choice for me, but but there is, I mean, that Capricorn moon, that Mars and Scorpio, yeah, it's a sexy chart.
Ellie, and I get this because my husband's a November 20th Scorpio, and he's a rising, so I understand what you're saying. It's sexy.
They're just, yeah, I mean, yeah.
And that sun in the 7th house, another good indication that he's good with people, and people, they loved him. They loved him. It wasn't like today where you got your division with parties and you don't cross that divide. Like, he would have got votes from all sorts of parties. Everybody seemed to love him.
Yeah. It's really a shame. I think he didn't get to wear the hat of president, because he was the one that was made for it.
Yeah, he was attorney general for JFK. Apparently had a lot to do with the whole Cuban Missile Crisis and in the talks. And from what I understand, he's the reason things didn't go to war and that we didn't get attacked. And so, yeah, I think he's a great people person. He would have been a pretty strong leader, you know, if the unfortunate event had not happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to see what was going on, like some transits that day that he got shot? Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so this will be his birth chart with the transits of the time it happened.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Do you see it?
Yes.
Bring it down a little bit.
Yes. No, I'm good. It's good now. It's good.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, this is his birth chart, and this is just stamping the transits the day this happened, just trying to see what's going on. You got that Jupiter right on Neptune in his 4th house of endings there.
You do? Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean you're going to die if someone has this transit going on. But there's something significant happening.
And also his north node in Cancer, his south node in Capricorn. Saturn is squaring these right now. Saturn ruling the south node. There is something that stands out about that.
If you believe in past lives, if you believe in karma, this can be looked at like something karmic going on here. Yeah, I don't want to say his death is karmic, you know, I want to be sensitive there, but like if you are into those studies and beliefs and philosophies, this does definitely say, hey, there's something going on here that may have been tied to a past life.
Yeah, and for sure. And also just like the nodes in general tend to be kind of or I have found they tend to be activated in some capacity during death. In some, like JFK's was in the reversal, right? The opposition. You know, they're kind of oftentimes lit up.
Sure.
In some way.
Yeah. And there can be times where you're not killed and crimes don't happen to you and you have this going on too. But like definitely when we're looking at crime charts and we're looking at an event that has happened, we do see this, you know, this commonality there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and that Saturn just transiting the 12th house too. That's tense.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I am wondering, you know, I'm just kind of looking at this at the time he died. Maybe we could have looked at it like posthumously in November, what would have happened. But, you know, I don't know if you know, it was thought he would win the election. You know, maybe I don't know if, you know, this puts you into a whole philosophical crisis. Are things lined up, or do things happen when they're supposed to happen? I don't know. But I don't know if I'm seeing anything here indicating that presidency was in the works.
Did you pull the solar arcs?
Okay.
There, I think personally, I think it's there.
You think that's more revealing? Let's look at it. Okay.
Yes.
And I do have that one ready for us. Here we go. How's that?
Yes. Yeah. Look at transit, or not transit. Look at solar arc Uranus.
Ah, right there on the ascendant.
Right on the ascendant. And by the time, when would the election have been? It would have been it would have been like 6 months from then. Yeah.
Correct.
6 months from then, roughly.
Yes.
Okay. So it would have been even closer at that time, to being exact. And natal Uranus is in his 11th house of long-term goals, hopes, wishes, right?
Yeah, charitable or humanitarian type work.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
To me, this signifies that within now, it could also point, and I want to be careful when I say this, because if you've got solar arc Uranus conjunct the ascendant, I'm not saying you're going to die, right?
Lots of people have had that aspect and lived.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I do think that if he had lived, he was in for a massive change of the way he approaches the world, of um, this was bound to happen. I think to me, this kind of speaks to,
Maybe
and
he
even
would
the
have been.
11th, yes, even the 11th house being like a legacy kind, can be like a legacy. I don't know. I think it was coming down the way personally.
Which this brings a whole like interesting other conversation, but we'll just tap lightly. So really, when you're looking at someone's natal and kind of seeing what's going on for them, I mean, it's almost looking like solar arc. It's a little bit more revealing than actual standard transits, maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, they kind of, yeah, you know, it almost. This is gonna sound so weird, but it's almost. So it seems like he was primed for this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, or he was, or the time was right for this. But with that Saturn transit, Saturn squaring the nodes, it's almost like he was taken out before he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but like intentional, like almost like a. How do I want to word this? Like, clearly it was intentional, but I don't know. I almost get
Fate?
the, huh?
Like it, is it okay to say, was it fate? Is that what?
Um, yeah, that's. I mean, I guess that's one way you could. But I want to be careful when
Mhm.
or rather, let me say it like this. I think things would be very, very different had he won.
Mm,
And it's almost like somebody didn't want that.
yeah. Oh, of course.
I,
Yeah.
I really do. I think things, if he had won, I think, and you could say that about anybody winning a presidency over somebody else, but I think in this case, I think it would have been very different.
Very. I mean, we had all sorts of things going on. Yeah, Martin Luther King was just assassinated, so we had
Uh-huh.
the whole civil rights. We had Vietnam War.
Uh-huh.
We had, yeah. So it would have been Nixon won that year, so it would have been very
Yeah.
different.
Yes, it would. Yes, things just would. Yeah, it's.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the Uranus solar arc right there on the ascendant, huge,
Mm-hmm.
huge thing. You know, time of life for him. Um, Anything else stand out about this for you?
That was the major thing, just because with solar arcs, I know I mentioned before, just for anybody who's not familiar, you generally want to, some people bring it in even more. They'll look at like 30 minutes applying, 30 minutes separating. I do extend it out to a minute on either side.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we feel the waves of these things, you know, before they, right? So, I don't notice, well, no, that's still kind of wide. That Mars is coming up on Mercury,
I'm looking at that.
but that would have been still about a year and a half, almost 2 years out when it would have been exact. But that probably would have indicated, if he had lived, something is my guess.
Something else
Something.
happening. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad we looked at that because the Uranus, that, yeah, you're looking at the transit chart, which is like, I don't really see a whole lot. Yeah, besides the Saturn squaring the nodes is significant. But then you see the solar arc next to the natal chart, and it's like, oh wow, Uranus is really at play here. So
I think that, like, um yeah, that's very, it's like, damn. And you know, I mean, it really feels like a shame that he didn't get to wear that hat, wear the
yeah,
press. Seriously, feels like a very lost opportunity for this country.
I agree. And even though, you know, we're looking at Marilyn Monroe, we're looking at all these things, and you know, we're looking at someone who what do I want to say here? Maybe had some other things going on.
Yeah.
Maybe not always on the up and up, but as a leader, I think he would have been fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And he was, yeah, I mean, he wasn't 100% on the up and up. There were definitely, you know.
I do not think he was a bad person, though. I just
No. No, and I don't think
weird things with Marilyn Monroe, but like
yeah,
I don't.
yeah, and I don't think JFK was bad either. I think he had more secrets, perhaps, but not bad. Neither one of them bad. But yeah, this one would have been
A great leader. I think.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great way to put it, Ellie. Missed opportunity here for the U.S. at the time.
Yeah.
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 So there you have it. That's our thoughts on Bobby Kennedy's death. And yeah, interesting. If you haven't watched the JFK part 1, it's going to be on Ellie's channel, and watch the Marilyn Monroe. Just see what similarities you come up with. We have to be a little careful when we're talking about these things, but yeah, there's definitely, it's interesting dominoes.
It is. And it really, we were talking about this briefly, that Peter Lawford person who, was one of the last people that Marilyn Monroe spoke to before she died. He was also the one that I believe told her that the Kennedy brothers didn't want anything to do with her. So this guy, and there was some other way that I was reading that he was, I would be curious to look at this guy's chart.
Yeah, he's kind of around all these events, or at least with Bobby and Marilyn, and yeah, kind of interesting to see what's going on in his chart. We might play with that one. That might be the next part of the story.
Yeah, because it is interesting that his name comes up like I mean, he was a brother-in-law, right? He was a brother-in-law to the.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's a repeating name that you see, and it's like, huh,
it's a character that comes up in every story.
Yes. Yes.
We're like, it's that guy again. Like,
it's that guy again.
So awesome. Well, Ellie, thank you. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay, y'all can find me on YouTube at Let's F with Astrology. You can find me on Instagram at Saturn Season Astrology, and you can find me at my website, saturnseason.com. Share where you can be found too.
BrandyBurrowAstrology.com, Brandy Burrow Astrology on YouTube and Instagram. And Ellie and me have teamed up. And if you have a loved one or someone you are closely connected with that has died mysteriously or maybe is missing, and you would like us to forensically look at the astrology and maybe get some clues or some help, not for a YouTube video, just some private work, please reach out to either of us and we can maybe help with that.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we can. I think we probably can.
I think
anybody is open to.
Yeah. We would just need the date they were seen last and a good time, like as detailed as possible. And we could go from there and see what we could find for you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Ellie, until next time, I appreciate it. And yeah, everyone, please subscribe and like these videos. And if you have some comments, let us know.
Yeah.
We love to read them, even if we disagree. Like, just love to know your thoughts. Just don't name call.
There's just no name call.
If you name call, I'm gonna delete it. But yeah, let us know. Maybe something you picked up something in these charts we didn't talk about. Put it up there. We'd love to read your comments.
Absolutely. Or other parts of the story that we didn't touch on that you see. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts. So, all right. Until next time. Thanks, Ellie.
Thank you again.